All right, welcome to Tate Talks. Thank you guys for tuning in. I have an amazing guest today, someone that I've known for quite some time now. His name is Scott Kinworthy. Scott, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Chris. Nice to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I got a lot to get in selfishly. I've done some digging in terms of your background. I found a couple interviews with you and stuff like that. You're a really interesting guy, so I have some specific questions.
Okay, sure.
But I would say just give us your 30-second pitch on who you are.
Who am I? Currently, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an artist, and I've had an interesting career prior to this. I used to be with Blue Man Group. That's probably some of the stuff you're talking about. And having been there, been an actor, been a musician, always in these sort of artistic roles. Entrepreneurship for me was something I always wanted to get into, and felt like a natural progression of where I wanted to take my career. So, yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to start with Blue Man because I saw that on your LinkedIn. I was like, that is incredible because I actually I played like snare in the band. It wasn't a big deal. Like, it was one of those things I had to do. And I had a drum set at the house, so I was paradiddling like, left and right. But you have Blue Man is like, it's a very competitive process to get in. I know that.
Yeah.
And you have to be a really good percussionist. So kind of tell me the story about how you even got into Blue Man.
Sure, man. What's interesting about that gig is you actually have to be a clown. It's more of a movement and acting gig and a storytelling gig than it is a percussion gig. Everyone has a misperception about it. I just, percussion is one of the ways that character expresses itself with communication. All that being said, how I got into it was I was in college as a percussion performance major. I was really into classical music at the time, and I was in college. And I went to something called the Percussive Arts International Society convention, I think. And long story short, there was a desk there. They were like, hey, they had like a little TV of Blue Man. I was like sort of standing there, and this woman asked me if I wanted to audition. Fast forward 7 months of auditioning, where they were flying me to New York City, and they started paying me like $100 a day to audition because that's how much they were auditioning me at the time. When I got in like May 1997. I was the youngest guy they ever hired at 2021. Yeah.
Wow.
And the audition process was just absolutely insane. But I learned a lot from it. I fell in love with acting, fell in love with movement as an art form. And yeah, the rest is history.
How long did you do that for?
I did it off and on for 17, 18 years. I did it full time for 5 years, quit, moved to LA, become like a film and TV actor. Meanwhile, it was in Las Vegas, so I would fly back and do shows on the weekends all the time. And then I came back and during the great financial recession and did like another 5 years full time. And that's how I ultimately found F45 and moved in that direction.
Interesting. Now, like during that time, like, or even now, do they still call you to like come back and like, hey, we're down a guy? Like,
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, no, they don't. But if they did, I'm up to so much that I don't know that I'd even have the bandwidth. But it's certainly something that I'd consider for sure.
Okay, we're gonna get up to what you're up to now shortly, but I want to dive into the acting career. How did you get into that? Was that before or after Blue Man?
It was after
at the same time.
No, it was after Blue Man. When I started playing music, one of my first gigs, I haven't had like a real job, quote unquote job. Since I was like 18, I basically got a job playing drums at a musical theater house, like a regional theater. And I remember watching, some of the scenes in musical theater. I remember thinking, I don't really know anything about acting per se, but I think I can do that. Just sort of having that thought process. Yep. And then I really didn't think anything of it because I was so deep into music. But when I found Blue Man Group, through the process of auditioning and recommending books and recommending classes, and I just found myself really enjoying it and fell in love with film and TV as a medium. And obviously I was taking acting classes all the time, and I ended up moving to LA and, quote unquote, never had to get a real job or a waiter or anything like that. But I just fell in love with it.
That's awesome. What was like your first role where you're like, oh my God, like I'm actually an actor now?
Oh, that's funny. There's a movie called The House of Sand and Fog with Sir Ben Kingsley and Jennifer Connelly. And I have like 5 lines or something, or 3 lines probably. I play a cop to Jennifer Connelly's love interest. You know, he's like my boss or something like that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's funny.
I'm envious. I'm envious. So obviously during this time, right, like playing drums or being a percussionist is no joke physically, right? Like you got to be in some pretty
Yeah,
good shape.
100%.
You know, obviously to be an actor, unless you're playing a specialty role, you can't be a bum. So tell us
True.
about the role that fitness kind of played in your life early on, and then, you know, through
Well, look,
your.
I actually loved football, and I broke my leg in a car accident, and ultimately, you know, while sitting around, I started playing drums because I really couldn't go back to football anyway. That's how I found music. Um, but you know, what I really learned as a musician, and what I learned as an actor, especially, you know, your body's your instrument. You got to take care of it, and you've got to pace yourself. You got to know how to perform. I mean, because you know, at Blue Man Group, we would do 2 shows a night. You know, you're on stage for 2 hours straight, just you. And even before that, when I would like be on the road touring with bands or something like that, you know, you're playing for like 3 hours a night. You know, 4 hours a night sometimes. So you've got to know how to pace yourself. You've got to have endurance, and you've got to take care of your body. And then is more in a more refined way with acting, like you need to be expressive. You need to have access to your emotions. You need to have control over your emotions, and you can't you can't let your body get in the way. You know, because your body can give you the character in a lot of ways.
Yep.
So at Blue Man, so much of the character is physical. It is physical storytelling.
Right.
So you've got to have mastery over your body. Therefore, you know, you've got to take care of it. So, you know, we don't do a lot of balancing or anything like that in that show. You're like be jumping off a stage. You'd be like drumming something over your head. You know, all kinds of. You'd be chair walking in the audience, things like that. So, you know, balance is important. So working out was really always part of the routine. And I found out I just really loved it. And again, it was part of my transition into getting into F45 for sure.
That's awesome. Side question, like how much prep goes into being a blue man, like every night? Like, are they painting that blue stuff on you or?
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, you can get it down to about 35 to 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
But basically, it's a synthetic bald cap. It's actually vinyl. People think it's latex. A lot of people do wear latex, but most people have an allergicness to it. So you glue it down with surgical glue. You wear inner monitors. You like kind of packs the seal so you can't see the seam, and then it's a grease paint. But
Wow.
it's unique to just Blue Man. I think they just make it for that company now.
Incredible. Incredible.
Actually, putting it on is not the problem. Taking it off, that's the problem. You need like a flammable makeup remover to cut through the grease because it's actually oil based. So
Did that
that
affect like,
it's like totally hectic. The first 6 months are nuts. Everybody just looks terrible.
oh gosh, that's horrible. So tell us how you got into entrepreneurship. So you're acting, you're blue man for a good amount of time. What was the first entrepreneurial thing you did?
Well, honestly, I actually believe, you know, being an artist, being an actor, being a musician, you in some ways you are an entrepreneur. Particularly as a musician or an actor, like you're gig to gig. You know,
Yeah.
you're only as good as your resume and your next gig or the gig that's paying you today. Um, so, and there's like there's no guaranteed, you know, paycheck. So there's something that's very similar in that way. Or as an actor, you are the product. You're just stuck inside yourself. You're constantly marketing yourself, and you're constantly trying to find ways to get more work and expand your career. So I would say, honestly, that was the best entrepreneurship training I could have ever had. I learned to deal with rejection really easily. I learned that you had to fight for yourself. You had to, like, you know, when no one else believed in you or your idea,
Yep.
you know, it's just you got to drive that train forward. I found all those skill sets really mapped nicely in entrepreneurship. And you know, my dad was an entrepreneur. He had a steel and fabrication company. And I always wondered, like, I wonder if I went into business, like how successful would I be if I hadn't really gone down this whole artistic road? So something I was always very interested in. And while I was at Blue Man Group the last few years, I started like a grassroots guerrilla marketing company, which is sort of just leveraging my network, which is, you know, a little bit of an entrepreneur skill. And we basically, you know, had 10 shows at one time on the strip using our grassroots guerrilla marketing company. And it was like a great side gig, great amount of money. I really learned to cut my teeth on pitching and new ideas and training employees, which is, probably the biggest issue. And then how to manage those books. Like there's so much that comes with entrepreneurship that you don't really expect.
Sure.
And then from there, I found F45 and, something just clicked. I could hear in the product, there was something really special about it. I knew that boutique fitness was on the rise and it just felt right. I could really feel it in my bones. And, I really wanted to start a business that I could make a difference for people, and it would be a lot of fun and remain physical. And ultimately like leave a legacy for my family. Like it had that sort of scalable, wealth growth. And F45 definitely has that.
That's awesome. So tell us more about that. Like, what are you specifically doing for F45? Because I know your role is a little different than most, right? You have a position with corporate, and you also own some locations. So tell us more about that.
Sure. I was the first franchisee with my business partner here in America when F45, we met those guys in like 2014. Wow. They only had maybe 75, maybe 100 locations in Australia. And we were like, yeah, this sounds like a great idea, So we opened the first one in Las Vegas in Summerlin. It's in Boca Park over here. And from there, based on my background with, I'd also, at one point when I wasn't at Blue Man Group anymore, this whole idea that 9 out of 10 businesses fail. Like my mentality, the way I approach things is like, cool, I'm gonna start 10 businesses and I know one of them will succeed. At that time we had that marketing company. We had this new ticket company. We also had, I was involved in a production company. But based on all those skill sets, sold off all that stuff. I got into a relationship with HQ to create educational videos for franchisees to when they signed on, like what to expect and things that they should learn. And I sort of built that system with F45 HQ. Since then, my role has changed so many times. Technically, I was the first American employee 5 years ago. And I've worn so many caps and I've learned so much from those guys as entrepreneurs. And then I've also expanded my own franchise network, and we currently have 2 franchises. We've got a third coming online here in Las Vegas, and that's really exciting for us. And that's a whole nother, ball of wax, because it's more of like an investor model, because we have these 2 other ones we're trying to start the third while we do all this other stuff. It's a whole nother, bag of cats almost,
Yeah. You're spinning a lot of plates right now.
Yeah. And look, and that's the kind of entrepreneur I am. I actually really like lots of different kinds of engagement. Some people are really all focused, and if they have one thing that distracts them, it messes up 2 things. For me, I'm ADD, I need lots of of different things coming at me. So
yeah, definitely. I found that, interviewing a few of these entrepreneurs that I've had on the show so far, a lot of them say I'm not ADD, but I just like a lot of different things. That's like one of the characteristics of being an entrepreneur is I like a lot of things going on at one time. Do you feel like that's pretty true to entrepreneurship?
Honestly, my biggest issue in life is like the amount of interests that I have, and the lack of time to really dive into all of them. And then maybe it's a sickness, but a little bit of curiosity, and confidence that I bet I could do something good. I'm really interested to see how I would do, and just sort of leap and see what happens.
Great. So, for anyone living under a rock, tell us about F45, what they've been up to, cause awesome growth, awesome success here in the States, but also internationally. So tell us what's going on with F45 and plans.
Yeah. So right now, F45, we are in 46 countries currently as of today. And we've got about 2,000 or so studios sold, nearly all of them open. And, our growth has just been phenomenal. And I think, that's why you were saying, if you've been living under a rock, we've been really making some big moves along the way. We've got 700 in America already. And I mean, we're going to have 2,000, no problem, in America in the next couple of years. Yeah. But what, really makes us special, more than anything else, yes, the F stands for functional. It's a HIIT workout, high intensity interval training. And we combined a circuit, and we have 4,000 exercises in our database, the largest exercise database in the world currently. and you can come every single day and you can show up and never repeat a workout. And all those things are absolutely amazing. Like in some ways it's 4 walls with peak performance training that it's pretty much approachable for anyone based on how we run things. But what really makes us special is the inspiration and desire to connect with people and make a difference with people. Like the guys that started this company, what I really appreciate about them is they both semi-retired from previous, products that they had launched and sold. And they were like, hey, we used to play rugby together. Let's start a business that really makes a difference for people. And we had a lot of fun doing. I like it like when we played rugby. So they remembered like being on a rugby team, working out, practicing, that stuff's exciting. Like you want to work out harder. You want to practice harder. You want to show up for practice. Like how can we take that and get it into a fitness studio? I know we have the saying, people quit products all the time, no matter how good or bad they are. But people don't usually quit people if you've really done your job and you're really trying to make a difference for them. And that's really what makes F45 special. And it shows in the growth, because the company's only been around 6-7 years max. And you don't get in 45 countries, 2,000 studios sold globally because of a marketing and sales plan. Like what gets that done is people show up, they have a great experience, they get great results, and they tell their friends. That's really the magic sauce.
That's awesome. Who, if you were in, and maybe you are, but let's just say you were in charge of selecting the ideal franchisee, paint the picture for who that person is. What do they look like?
Well, that's actually, that's a great question. Because, there's a couple of major buckets, right? And I'm not in charge of that, but I have, I used to teach induction for those guys, and I have seen, it runs the gamut. There is the personal trainer who has the ability to raise, enough funds, who like has a great following, who, or just is really passionate about fitness. And then they sort of partner with someone who can back them financially and open an F45 franchise, and they're going to own it and operate it and be the heartbeat of that place. That's a great, example. That's probably what got us our start in Australia the most. There's a lot of personal trainers over there with great ability. It's really hard to get a personal training cert in Australia, so the quality was really high. Then our second, probably largest group is corporate refugees. People that have been in a corporate gig, they love fitness. They used to be an athlete in college or in high school, volleyball, basketball, football, doesn't really matter. And they miss that connection in the same way that F45, the CEOs, the guys who started the company, how they miss that connection. They miss being a part of something and working out and being physical and using their body in that athlete way. That sort of, career refugee, those guys who like have saved enough money, they're like, you know what, I'm going to make that move. And they just go for it. And not surprisingly, there have been other fitness brand owners that CrossFits and other people around the globe that were like, that this has been great, but I'm gonna switch to an F45 because it makes more sense for me. And then great. Lastly is the investor model, where we've had enough growth now where like people that just have lots of money, the investors that are always looking to get onto the next major block of a brand like F45. In the early years, like we believe we'll have 30 and 40 years staying power. And I really believe the way these guys run this company, that's absolutely going to happen. So we're in the process of developing out this investor model where like, you buy 10 and we help place people for you. And we have great territories and we hook you up with great trainers and great people that can run your company for you.
That's great. That's actually, a topic that I talked about on my last podcast was there's a lot of great operators out there. And that's kind of all they'll ever really be. Like they work for a big company, let's just say, a big fitness company, and they have limiting beliefs. They're like, you know what, I'll never make the money, or I'll never have the money to open my own thing. Yeah. But the reality is there's lots of people out there who are just looking to financially invest, and you can split up a partnership. Are you guys like kind of playing matchmaker for those kind of people, or are they responsible for finding their own?
It's a little elbow grease right now, but we, I think in the fullness of time, and I'm not speaking to any direct plans that we have, although we do have departments focusing on this kind of stuff, where we, we are playing matchmaker. We are creating ecosystems where people can meet. So yes, the short answer is absolutely. We're working on building out something like that.
That's awesome. What would you say to somebody that has been out of shape for a long time, that's seen, all the F45 videos and Facebook ads and everything that's going on, and is thinking about coming in, but just really can't take the leap and do it? What would you say to that person?
Well, first I'd speak to two things. One, F45 can seem exciting and fun and intimidating. Um, and the thing to really remember about that is one of the reasons we have sold so many studios around the globe and why we're in so many countries is we do have the widest demographic reach of almost any fitness brand out there. And yes, we have 4,000 exercises in that database, but the way that we train our trainers, there's usually 2 trainers to every single class. And it is really personal training in a group setting. That's really the power of the technology that we've created. So it frees the trainer up to do that. It's not about that particular workout. It's not about that particular exercise, right? It's about creating an environment where people want to show up 320 times in a 365-day year. That habit, that will create change. So if you show up and you only show up for 12 minutes and you have to modify half of the 12 exercises for that 12 minutes, cool, no worries. Absolutely. For us, it's all welcome arms, right? As well as, we train the trainers to, progress the exercises as well. So if you come in, Chris, I know you're an athlete, and you look a little unchallenged, we can tell from the heart rate monitors, like, this guy needs a push. Like, we're going to come over and all of our trainers are trained to, like, how do we get this guy progressed in a way where he's challenged, his heart rate's through the roof, and he's feeling good. And he comes, and like, we've literally had like Terrell Owens and, a 55-year-old retired mom, in the same class, both having a great class, both working at their 80 to 90% intensity and absolutely loving it.
Great. That's awesome. I think a lot of people kind of get intimidated by, the boutique. They might have had a bad experience back in the day. And I kind of blame the big box gyms a little bit from,
Yes.
The early 90s from, the sales desks and all that.
Yeah.
But I think culture plays a big part in the whole atmosphere of a studio. And I checked out your social media accounts for the studios, and I felt like I knew who worked there, right? Like, you guys highlight some of the coaches and the trainers.
Yeah.
And so I don't feel like, that I would feel intimidated about walking in, because like, oh, I know that person. I just saw them on a post. Talk about the culture in your studios in Las Vegas. And
Well, it's not just my studios in Las Vegas. It's just company wide. We are always trying to, do the best we can and adhere to the culture that F45 HQ creates. And the philosophy here is team training, life changing. And what that means is come in, all the data is out there that, like, work out with a buddy, you're going to show up more often. You're going to be on time. It's the fear of letting them down in some ways that, or sometimes you just need the support. So for us, that's, again, it goes back to the original idea of creating the company, was to create a place that people really wanted to show up because it's fun. This is like, we kind of look at it as their second living room, right? Where they come to blow off steam, and we're always in a good mood. We're here to make a difference for them and make sure they get the class they want. Make sure they know, the 5 new members that just came in today, and we're having events, call it every month or twice a month or once a week, to constantly keep everybody together and supportive of each other. And really, like, that's, to us, like, that's really what is the special sauce. If you don't love people, you don't love making a difference for people, you don't love getting to know people, this industry might not be for you.
Right.
Really, this is a people business. I think every business is a people business before it's any business, no matter what it is. But this particularly is people heavy. And if you love that and you genuinely love people and want to make a difference for them, you'll be great. You'll do fine.
That's awesome. I totally agree with you. I've said this so many times to former colleagues and everything that, there's a bunch of different products out there, right? And there's no secret that there's competition in the fitness space, right? But where I feel like companies can win is with people, right? And finding the right people and having them work at your locations, creating those connections. How do you find the right people? Like, what's your process? You don't have to give me specifics, but what do you look for in an F45 employee?
That's really a tough thing. I believe there are great people everywhere, and it's about finding someone that genuinely cares about people, has a drive to excel, an interest in their own personal excellence, and is willing to leave their stuff at the door, and that they're really supposed to be there for the client. Those are the key qualities. And what I've most recently learned, if I'm just going to be really honest about it, is you got to be willing to just hire someone who knows what they're doing. You got to someone that has the skill set. We've always cherished, because we're underdogs, me and my whole entrepreneur team that do these studios, and we're always like, you give us a problem, we're going to find a solution without you having to manage me.
Sure.
Not everyone isn't like that. So we try to pay well. We try to make sure that they're really taken care of. And if you hire the right person and they kind of have the right kind of qualities, then it's just about like, hey, how can I help you get where we all want to go? Like, what do you need to succeed? And it's more about coming from this place of genuinely taking care of them, because they're going to take care of the business. That said, though, we're actually started working with Career Plug, and Career Plug is awesome. And it's anytime you look for a product that helps automate something for you as an entrepreneur that really gets something off your bandwidth, absolutely, it's worth its weight in gold, because time is everything. It's the only equalizing factor that all of us have.
Awesome, man. Appreciate the plug there, man. That's
Of course.
no pun intended. The Career Plug. Not to swing it negative, but I think a lot of people come on and they talk about kind of, right, entrepreneurship is very popular right now.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be one. What are some struggles of being an entrepreneur?
Time. You give up, you make a lot of sacrifices with time, and if the juice ain't worth the squeeze, like if you can't see past you've got to be willing to be uncomfortable. So that means you might sleep less. That means some other areas of your life might fray to get the project across the line. Or you might have a manager quit, and guess what? You didn't plan on spending your weekend in the studio, but now you are. And you've got to be uncompromising with what you want and what you're willing to give up. And it's really smart to have a good look at that. But for me, it's never been a problem. Like I'm really interested in the personal growth, and I'm really interested in my full potential. And if I got to be a little, I know that growth comes from being uncomfortable. So actually, if I'm not super uncomfortable, I'm like, wait, something's wrong. I'm used to always being in over my head, swimming. And if that kind of environment excites you, entrepreneurship's for you.
That's great. What would you say to people that have dreams of entrepreneurship? Everyone has ideas, right? Execution is a different thing. But there's like that hump that people need to get over, right? To actually like get it all manifested and actually act on it. What would be your advice to people that just have these ideas and then just never end up going for them, or are in that place where they're stuck?
It really depends, it depends on where they're at as an entrepreneur, is like what I would say, or how I would coach them. But just for this scenario, let's just say like they have a gig, they have a job, and they've got this great idea or something they're passionate about that they'd love to be, in business in some ways. If they haven't figured out what it is, that's a bigger problem. And like, there's another coaching for that. But if you want to start your own app, your own fitness product, whatever it might be, there is so much you can do to learn about that industry and learn about that particular product while you have your gig. Again, you just have to be willing to give up time. There's plenty, if you're willing to sleep 4 hours a night or less and give up your weekends, you can go work for someone else. There's a million books you can read. I read The Lean Startup in 2010, maybe 2011, which is all about like, what's the most viable product you can create that costs the least amount of money, the least amount of time, and just to find out if it works. Or better, like if you do want to be in the fitness industry, like go get a job at a gym,
right?
Like, and ask for as many hours as you can take. And if you find out that you hate it, then cool, you didn't waste $1 million trying to get into that industry, or trying to raise that money. But there's so much you can do. Like, never underestimate hustle. Having worked, now at F45 corporate and having had my own employees, nothing beats hustle. Somebody who shows up on time, somebody who works really hard and doesn't take no for an answer, like is really curious about getting it done. Those people are so valuable. If you're that kind of person, again, entrepreneurship's probably for you.
Great. What are some things that we have to look forward to with you and F45 on the rise. I feel like you got a couple things up your sleeve personally. I don't know about it
Yeah,
yet, but
no, I do, but
correct.
I'm still on my F45 ride, and there's no end in that in the foreseeable future. But yeah, there's definitely some things coming from me that I can't really talk about fully, but something that I'm very, very interested in is mindset, right? You have the right mindset, you can nearly tackle anything. I don't know, some people probably follow Tony Robbins out there. He's got, his whole thing is his triad and mindset, and like you have the right state, you can sort of tackle anything. There's actually, and that's really great. And if you have the money to take those courses, you should do so because they're fabulous. But there's a book out there. I actually wrote it down. It's called Mindset by Carol S. Dweck. It's about a 10-hour listen if you listen to audio. And it's all about like fixed mindset or growth mindset. Entrepreneurs tend to be growth mindset, or she gives this great example of like Andre Agassi, growth mindset, always interested in learning. And there's John McEnroe who, like, if he loses, he loses it because he just thinks he's, it means the world is wrong or something. I don't know. But F45, I can definitely speak to the areas that we're interested in right now. And we have developed some growth in Australia. There's a product called Prodigy. And we're, obviously the globe is to expand this globally. But right now it's just in Australia. We've got about 200 studios that are partaking, and it's 11 to 17-year-olds. A similar concept, functional training. A lot of the exercises are different, and a lot of the way that we're interacting with the clients and the parents. But, we really believe the more that kids can be together, working out together, developing like good relationships and self-esteem. They obviously, Australia seconds America in obesity, and these guys want to catch it early. They really like put their money where their mouth is. And so that's on the horizon. It's already started in Australia. It's going to be making its first few footprints in North America in 2020.
That's fantastic. I can't speak enough about, someone with two young kids myself, and
Yeah.
congratulations to you. You just had
Yeah.
baby yourself.
He's been 3 months this month. So yeah, we're really excited.
Congratulations. But, I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and I was saying, like, we were talking about the economy or whatever. And, okay, well, if it goes down, like, what's the first thing you get rid of? Right. And you talk about like, oh, this or that. And, you never sacrifice on two things, and that's things for your pets and things for your kids. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's super important, to have them and stuff that's going to keep them around and, make them, grow and be developmental. And there's just not enough stuff out there. So I think that's fantastic.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. I honestly couldn't agree more.
That's great. I want to play a quick game. I've never done this on the podcast before.
All right, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
So it's going to be one word association. So I'm going to give you a word or a phrase, and you can answer with one word.
Oh man. All right.
Back to the improv days, probably.
Yeah. Okay. It's only been 15 years. Let's do it.
All right, cool. All right. Timer's up, and there's only a few here. F45.
Team training. Oh, I can do one word. Value.
Fitness.
Essential.
The Tesla Cybertruck.
Need it. Desire.
Your next door neighbor.
Cool.
Hollywood.
Not so cool.
The best show on TV right now.
What's that?
Best show on TV right now.
Best show on TV right now. Something that's really I've been diving into is oh wait, is this one word still?
Yep.
Oh, one word.
It could be two if it's the name of a show.
Okay, Today Explained.
What is it called?
It's called Today Explained.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah.
What's overhyped right now?
Coronavirus.
Heck yeah. Best movie of all time.
Oh, that's a tough one. Of all time? I mean, that's a really tough one. I mean, having been in the industry, I certainly have my pick per genre. But Citizen Kane, I mean, the guy knocked it out of the park. I mean, if you're looking for formula that works, hands down, every movie can pretty much give a little homage to Citizen Kane from a formula footprint standpoint. That if you follow that formula, it's going to work.
Awesome. Best actor of all time. You can't say yourself.
No, I would never. I'm definitely not the best actor of all time. I've got my favorites for sure. Daniel Day-Lewis, Christian Bale, Joaquin Phoenix, guys that really are very transformational actors. That attracts me from having been from, like, I'm not a blue man, I appreciate that quality and what that takes. So yeah.
Taco Bell paying their employees or their managers $100,000.
Do they?
Yeah, they just started. They just came out and said they're going to start paying managers 100K.
Good for them. I think that for that industry, that's fantastic.
It's awesome. Prevents turnover, right? Hopefully.
Absolutely. Well, again, I think that they've probably learning the lesson that a lot of companies, you invest in people, your company will grow. This is a people business, not a taco business.
Right. 100%. That's all the subjects I had. I wanted to talk really quick about the wildfires, because obviously, F45 founded in Australia. Kind of give us a status update. Were there any studios affected, people that you guys know? What's going on over there?
Yeah, I mean, look, we have a lot of friends from over there, obviously, from studios that we've trained, or, a lot of the senior leadership at F45 have houses over there. So luckily, as of right now, knock on wood, everyone's property is okay. Everyone that we know and their extended family is okay. Some people have, lost a few animals or like they've had some land that burnt, but like, no major houses or anything. What I would speak to is Hollywood Heroes. F45 started a GoFundMe. You can still find it. The goal is $400,000 that we're going to be donating. And this is all studio donated. We've just been reaching out to the F45 network. And I believe it's almost at $400,000 as of today. So yeah, we're grateful for the network. We're grateful that everything that F45 is doing to, help out there.
Awesome. I'll drop that link in the YouTube video when I go.
If I need to, let me know.
Awesome. Well, Scott, those were all the questions and everything I had for you. I appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, my pleasure, Chris. Anytime, man.
Where can people find you if they want to contact you or reach out about F45 or just help being an entrepreneur?
Honestly, if you want to reach me directly, probably the best place is to just find one of my studios online, F45 Training Summerlin or F45 Training Henderson. That's probably the best. If it has anything to do with HQ, you can just reach out to info@f45training.com.
Fantastic.
And someone will get it to me.
Great. Thank you so much, Scott, and have a good rest of the night. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Chris. Have a great night, man. Cheers.
All right. Bye. All right. Cool.